Actually, the most emotion you get out of the pilot, Dave, is the scene where he's about to blow the doors on the pod and then go through the emptiness of space just for like this much to get into the ship and then close the airlock behind him. You can see he's a little bit scared. He's like kind of getting ready for, oh shit, this is gonna happen. The doors are gonna explode. And I'm gonna fly out. I'm gonna take this as an opportunity, and please forgive me if this is so obvious you don't need it. But my students often ask questions. Why the hell are they these big? It says explosive bolts on the side of the space pod. My students are often very confused. They think it's like a weapon or something. It's not. It's that normally on ships of this type, you'd think about the doors opening with electricity, right? Like you push a button and poof, and it opens up, right? Um, but the explosive bolts means that the bolts, like the physical bolts that attach to the door, the way the door is held shut, um, they use explosive bolts, which is a kind of emergency thing that they would use on submarines and that kind of stuff too. It's a piece of technology that exists today. Because the reason is, if you're in a pod like that, and let's say your battery gets damaged, you can't open the door, you're gonna fucking die in there. And so they need to have a way to open the door without using electricity. So there's these tiny little explosive charges that will blow the door open. That's what he does anyway. So it confuses students. They think it's some kind of bomb or something, but it's not. Okay. Cool. So let's. Oh, and I forgot the best piece of acting in the movie. And again, just following because this movie takes place in space, and it does crazy, unrealistic things. And so, in order to get the audience to really believe that it's real, the movie they want to anchor it in realism. So they try to make the monkeys as realistic as possible, and they try to think about how realistic space travel can they make it look real with the Velcro shoes and all the little details. The acting has to be realistic too, because if the acting is realistic and if the acting is realistic and the costume details are realistic, then this crazy journey that we're going on will seem real. And that's better for the movie because it's trying to do something very crazy. So the realer it seems, the harder it will be to just be like, what a wacky, silly movie. It's not like, a crazy, it's not Guardians of the Galaxy, which is just filled with crazy, crazy things, like talking raccoon with a machine gun on a talking tree. So, what was it? Oh, the acting. The little girl. I swear to God, she's the best actress in the whole movie. She just seemed. Have you ever talked to a little kid? She's just like that. I love her acting in the film. It's so real. I love that he asks her, "What do you want for your birthday?" And she says, "Telephone." Why does she say she wants a telephone for her birthday? Because she's on the telephone. She's just saying whatever the fuck she's looking at. Like she's a little kid. She can't think of anything, so she looks around and what is she looking at? The telephone. She's calling her dad on. By the way, all of the kind of screen phone thing, that was way ahead of it. They basically invented the iPad in 1968 in this movie. That was way ahead of its time. Okay, cool. So we're doing good. Let's go on to bigger things. Yeah, cool. I love it. I think it's now time to talk about some bigger, more serious kind of stuff. Let's move on to talking about theme and some bigger things. So the key moment in theme will jump out at you with the editing. Where? The edit where the monkey throws the bone in the air and the bone goes in the air in daytime, and then the movie goes cut, and all of a sudden it's a spaceship in space in the darkness. It's considered to be the most famous and sort of bonkers cut in any movie. It's so crazy for multiple reasons. For one thing, it just expects you, the audience, to keep going. We've been watching these monkeys for like 30 minutes. And then when they cut, it's like, we're not going to see those monkeys again. All new characters. And it's like you're starting the movie over. Like this, it feels like a second different movie, totally different genre, different situation. Oh, and then by the way, you hang out with Floyd and the sort of on the moon, and then the movie cuts again, and you don't really see Floyd again except for a brief tape at the end of the movie. And it's like, here's a bunch of new characters now. Movies do not usually introduce new main characters like an hour and a half into the film, an hour into the hour 15 minutes into the film. So one thing the editing does, and there's very light. They don't give you a ton of information. They don't explain what's the connection between the monkeys and the guys on the moon. You have to kind of wait to figure it out. They trust you. You're not going to leave. You're smart, right? The movie treats you like you're smart. They jump to the moon, from the monkeys to the moon, and then they expect you to figure out. Oh, they think you're going to wait and be patient and be intelligent and stick with them and trust them. And then when you see the monolith on the moon, you go, oh shit. The human beings are dealing with the same thing the monkeys are dealing with. What the fuck is that black box? Um, so that's number one. Um, the other thing about the editing, the other thing about the editing though, is that it sets up a thematic link. It's a key thematic link which has to do with tools. The monkey has a bone that he uses to club his enemies with, and it seems like the black box made him think about that step in evolution, the evolution from being an animal to an animal that uses tools. It's the first tool, a club. But when the movie jumps to space, it jumps from the bone, and then suddenly, without any help, boom, there's a spaceship. The movie makes a connection between the two things. It asks you, and it doesn't tell you this. There's no character that goes, well, you know what, let me explain this. Movies often have a guy in the movie that goes, let me explain everything that you're seeing. This movie doesn't do it. It expects you. It thinks you're smart. It thinks you are smart enough to realize that that spaceship up there, it's really just a fancy bone. A bone is a tool. Look, guys, look at the cat. Oh, little kitty cat. Okay. It thinks you're gonna just. It thinks that you're smart enough to realize that a bone is a tool and a spaceship is also a tool. It's a much more complicated, much more fancy kind of tool, but actually, it's human beings are animals that use tools. Animals don't use a ton of tools. And the spaceship, and it's interesting. He helps you, by the way, figure this out because the spaceship it cuts to looks a little bit like a bone. The spaceship going to Jupiter also looks a little like a bone. Because it's got this kind of bulb on the end, like your leg bone would have. I don't know, socket thing. You know what I'm talking about? It's got like it's got a thing here and then a rod here and then a thing. I don't know what the fuck you call it. I don't know fucking bones. So the point is that it expects you to figure it out, to realize that human beings, the beginning of evolution is animals using tools, and then you cut to thousands of years later, and they're just using fancier kinds of tools. It expects you to make that connection, and it's pretty impressive that it sort of expects you to be smart enough to kind of deal with that. Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna get to some bigger themes. We're getting to the big stuff now. This is going good. All right. Wow, guys, I think we're just at the big stuff now. All right, cool. So let's talk about some bigger issues with the theme. So one of the things that the movie doesn't tell you, it never tells you this, it just thinks you're smart enough to notice on your own. And I've seen this movie in theaters several times, and I will tell you, most of the audience often doesn't notice. But the idea is maybe the box, the monolith, causes things to evolve. And it's interesting that when the monkey gets near the monolith, it evolves into wanting to smash with a bone. And then it's about animals that use tools. But then they find a monolith on the moon, and it seems to maybe evolve things again. Except that it doesn't evolve the people. It feels like maybe it's evolving the machines. That Hal is a tool that doesn't want to be used anymore. Hal has moved. Hal is like, if the monkey is the first animal to use a tool, Hal is the first tool to sort of be like a person. He's evolved. He doesn't want to be. He doesn't want them using him for the mission. In fact, he seems ready to complete the mission all by himself. He wants to kill all the human beings who are going to fuck up the mission, and he's going to go to Jupiter by himself and see the monolith. What did the monolith do to the monkeys? It evolved them. What's the monolith going to do if Hal is the only one that gets there? That's the anchor. But nowhere in the movie does it tell you this. You just have to kind of watch it, think about it, and just give it some thoughts and hope you can kind of handle it. The movie treats you like you are smart enough. And no, I hope you're not saying to yourself, I'm not smart enough. You are. If you pay attention to the movie, if you watch, if you think, if you wait, it'll come to you. I've seen my students are all smart enough to do this. It's just sometimes you're busy and you're in a hurry, you got other stuff on your mind, you don't notice. Also, movies have taught you, they'll explain. The movies have let you to believe that the movies will explain the movies to you. But this is a movie where the movie is not going to explain it to you. You have to figure it out for yourself. That's a key thing in the movie is the three sections. And again, there's a monolith at the end of each section, right? That the monkeys find the monolith and they evolve, and then they find the monolith on the moon and they evolve, and then they go out to Jupiter and there's a giant monolith and there's another evolution, and the evolution's crazy because it's Dave Bowman into a giant space baby. But though that is the structure of the film, and no character explains that to you. Kubrick treats you like you're smart enough to handle it. Okay, cool. See you in the next video.